Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Novo Nordisk. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have a simple structure. We have been focusing on this green interpretation as our main scenario, for which we expect to possibly have a top within a wave 3 and track this as something like a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5. Now, to be clear, slightly different interpretations are possible. I could be looking for the wave 1 to have instead topped here, to have this as a wave 2 correction and this as a wave 3. Yeah, also a valid interpretation. I could be looking for this wave 3 to still be ongoing, yeah, where we would be looking for this wave 3 to have never formed the top, and in that case we would have a slightly higher area of support, but at this point we would already be reaching the larger area of support we have been tracking in this green interpretation anyway, and we will be looking for the levels between the $36.4 down to the $7.6 to generate the reversal to the upside. In either case, no matter whether I use the area of support for the idea of an extension within this wave 3, where this would be something like a 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 or something similar, and then compared to this area of support where we assume a large wave 3 top to be in place, it would be all the same because we would still need to break the $7.6 level for a strong signal that something more bearish would be going on. So, in the smaller time frame, we have been looking for an alternative scenario within this supposed wave 5, where we had this yellow structure for the idea of an ending diagonal to be in formation here, yeah? This would be a 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 that would have been expected to build one more high before creating this more substantial push to lower prices. Now, the thing is, we weren't too invested on this yellow interpretation to be a high probability, but it became much more interesting as we were already within very deep levels of support. It would have been after several weeks, yeah, actually more like a year, of downtrend we had within this area, and we were already noticing substantial divergences here on the weekly time frame. All of this paired with a potential A wave complete in a leading diagonal, we were looking for the reversal in a wave B, at least into the area of resistance that would have started at the $69 level. We weren't necessarily strongly favoring the fifth wave in yellow to form, but it was interesting even from a correction perspective because, yeah, there were strong signals that an opportunity was available here. Now, sure, it didn't work out and it happens at times, but we had very deep levels of support already achieved where we knew when this structure was going to be rather an afterthought, yeah, not even an applicable scenario anymore. So we now have to completely dismiss this idea of a yellow extension, and in the previous video we were looking for the initial 5-wave move to the upside within this internal structure where, yeah, we actually needed a few more highs to actually look for a reliable trade setup, and we would have liked to reach the area of resistance. No, not the case, but we can notice that we have only a 3-wave pattern in this area complete, yeah? We have extended from the area of support we provided in the previous video, but nothing substantial enough to complete our structure. And if we were to be actively tracking this, we would have had an internal area of support around the 50% retracement, yeah, probably something like the $55 level. We might have possibly allowed a bit lower of a correction, but we would have had a strong signal that this structure was going to have very low probabilities in creating the entire 5-wave pattern, meaning that there was a substantial risk of falling through our larger area of support in yellow. So, with all of this said, what are we tracking now? What are we focusing on now? So, from a larger time frame perspective, this still seems like a highly interesting area of support to me, yeah? This seems like a quality structure. It has proven track record for a very strong uptrend that has been forming. And if you want to get access to our monthly top picks where we identify for you such high quality structures, you can check out our newsletter. The link for sign up is in the description and it is completely free. Yeah, we will be sending out our first list this weekend, and we are looking at some very interesting opportunities, which, again, you will get the list. You can follow it along with us on YouTube or you can even build on your own information on top of our trade setup approved watch list. Now, within this structure, getting back to the chart, we are looking still at an ABC pattern to be information. I would have my doubts in considering that a bottom would have been in place here and for this to be a B wave top because we haven't reached the area of resistance. And this would have started only at the $69 level. We stopped a bit short of that at the $64 level. So I'm considering an extension within this wave A, but personally I would still be focusing on this to likely being an initial 5-wave move to the downside. So I would be considering something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Doesn't need to be this exact count. Yeah, if we go in the smaller time frame, we may notice some additional particularities, but yeah, it seems perfectly fine to me. Doesn't really matter in the end, but I couldn't really trust this to be a wave 3 bottom as it does seem like an incomplete structure or a 3-wave pattern rather. So yeah, I would be tracking within this 50 to the downside an A, B, C pattern, and sure, let's track this in yellow, why not? And within this wave C, as always, we are looking for a 5-wave pattern before considering a more substantial bottom to be in place. Now, if I go within the even smaller time frame, I could consider this to potentially form an impulse. And in such a case, I would be able to either consider that we would have even a double 1-2-1-2 setup, a wave 3 that could still be ongoing, or I could even allow this to be a single 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. I wouldn't look too much into the exact details, yeah, distortions are quite applicable to this chart. We have a lot of gaps present, and what I would personally focus on is an internal area of resistance for a 5-wave pattern in this area. Ultimately, I would still need quite a strong push to the upside to dismiss the possibility of an extension in this wave C, and I would probably even need to break the previous swing high here at the $51 level for a more clear completion of this wave to the downside. But yeah, at this point, if this is to form a larger impulse or a 5-wave move within this area within something else, yeah, that is also possible, I would expect it to form another low, and I would be looking for the relevant levels of resistance up to the 50% retracement, as yeah, the impulse is going to be the preferred choice for the internal structure within this area. So I would be watching for a break above the $43 level before considering a more substantial bottom to be in place within this structure. It's definitely not easy to read this. It is one of the more complex patterns, and I could very easily consider this to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 within an ending diagonal. So I would be watching out for how disproportionate a correction would be within this area. But firstly, I would be looking for the break above the $43 level. Now, if we want, we can also check out their home exchange, where it might be a bit easier to read, but we generally prefer the New York Stock Exchange listing and chart because it does have more volume. Now, here it might be a bit more apparent that we are dealing with a 5-wave move to the downside within a potential impulse. Within this wave 1, we can more clearly identify a 5-wave pattern. I wouldn't overthink this and I would be patient. I don't consider this to be a buying opportunity just yet because we are still above our large area of resistance, yeah? If we were to consider one of the other interpretations, we would already be within it, but even then, I would consider this to likely form an initial 5-wave move to the downside and to form a 3-wave correction before forming the extension and the bottom in a wave 4. And I have to say, if this extends to very deep levels, we might even need to consider the possibility of a more substantial wave 1 to have a top here, yeah, where this could be tracked in certain cases, in certain interpretations, as a 5-wave pattern complete in something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Very much possible, not an issue. I would be patient, however, and this, while it can be considered a high-quality structure, is one of those patterns that is more open-ended to different interpretations and where it would be probably best to identify a more reliable pattern within a smaller time frame, like an initial 5-wave move to the upside, as we attempted to track within this push to the upside, but yeah, we failed. We didn't get the 4th and the 5th. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.